What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another gaming session, and today we're going to be talking about end user license agreements. Essentially, PlayStation and Discovery, who is owned by Warner Brothers, have not reached an agreement. So if you purchased any Discovery content, you essentially will lose access to that as of December 31st. 2023. So television shows like Yukon Man.
I was thinking maybe you hide in the bush and I'll go down left a little bit and throw a rock or a stick over there.
I'm just looking at the list here. Little People, Big World.
I'm engaged.
What?
Chris proposed to me yesterday
Okay.
for our 3rd year anniversary. Well, you guys are shocked. No?
Will no longer be available due to the license agreement ending. There's hundreds of shows on this list, and a lot of people, I'm sure, have purchased content that is owned by Discovery, and this is kind of worrisome. This isn't the first time. I wanted to kind of do some research myself and kind of figure out if this was indeed the first time. Canal Studios is another one that essentially couldn't reach an agreement with PlayStation in terms of licensing, and all of the content that Canal Studios owns, which is quite a bit. Basically, users lost access to that content. And you might think, hey, maybe you can get a refund. Maybe you possibly can get your money back, considering the fact that you did purchase it, right? You didn't rent it, or at least you didn't think you rented it. But you are not entitled to a refund because you actually did rent it. See, when you purchase anything from the PlayStation Store, and Mutahar has talked about this a lot in preservation of media, this is a huge issue, and this is something that's becoming more prevalent as the years go on, essentially because these companies are not being able to reach agreements that really benefit the consumer, or it could just be a greed thing too, like PlayStation's just very greedy. That I wouldn't put it past to them, but it's kind of hard to sit there. It's weird because this is Warner Brothers Discovery. So David Zaslav is the person who runs Warner Brothers currently. He's the one who's essentially canceled projects for tax purposes. He's the one that canceled the John Cena Wild the Coyote movie, and then that, of course, the fans spoke up, and we said, we demand to see John Cena in the Looney Tunes movie.
Right.
And that's still happening now. But this dude's he's an asshole. I mean, to say it nicely, he's an asshole. And he basically was a lawyer. He had no experience in entertainment or movies or anything relating to that stuff. So he's with the lawyer mindset. He only cares about money. He only cares about saving money and trying to make sure that the shareholders and himself profit the most, no matter how much it hurts fans. But I feel like a lot of people, and just kind of going over different comments, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that, yes, when I sit there and purchase a game, like Alan Wake 2, kind of waiting for it to go on sale. Although me and my brother Rocky are playing on PC, I kind of want to get it on PlayStation as well. But that's a game that I know when it does go on sale and I do purchase it, I am essentially not actually buying the game. I don't have any physical media. So if all of a sudden, I believe it's Remedy Entertainment that does make Alan Wake 2, all of a sudden PlayStation and Remedy Entertainment decide that they can't reach an agreement on the licensing of Alan Wake 2, PlayStation pulls it from the store, and that game is no longer available to play. So especially with everything being online now, it's always running to make sure that license is valid. And the second that it's not, essentially, you just lose access to it. This seems to be a surprise to a lot of people, and I know some ordinary gamers, Mutahar, he's been advocating for this quite a bit, and I definitely appreciate it, because he seems to be one of the few that has been saying, listen, all digital only world is not a good world to live in, because you essentially can lose access to any any of these games at any time. And that's the especially if you're pouring in a lot of money in terms of buying a lot of video games. Like myself, I purchased a lot of games, and if all of a sudden I lose access to my library, that's thousands and thousands of dollars that all of a sudden is out the window, and I no longer have what I purchased initially. So I wanted to show you some comments from Reset Era that basically kind of go over what people are feeling right now in terms of the licensing agreements with Discovery content is essentially ending. First comment here by Too Many Almonds. This is bullshit. Sony and Discovery should be required to refund anybody that purchased these. Not to mention, this shouldn't even be a thing to begin with. Delist it if you have to, but the only time something should be pulled from libraries is if it's illegal, like what happened with the Man game. Basically, I completely 100% agree with this person, but again, you're not purchasing the license. You're not buying, you're renting the license. So you do not have any whatsoever any sort of ownership of any of the content that you do buy on PlayStation. This goes for any of these platforms. And this goes for Xbox as well. That's why even the Game Pass is probably the best deal, because similar to Netflix, you know what you're getting, right? You're not having to, you know that you're renting the service every single month and their library of content. You're not essentially going into it thinking like, if I sit there and buy Netflix for the month, I own all of these movies, television shows on this service, and that's just not the case. And I think that it's not a surprise that a lot of people don't realize this. But this is the reason. One of the reasons why I've always been pro physical media is because this is a very real possibility, and as time goes on, it's going to become only more and more prevalent, and we're only going to see it more and more. So the Man game, for those who don't know, and this is just kind of a sidebar, but the Man game essentially was a game that was on Xbox, and it was essentially Girls Gone Wild on Xbox, and then they ask them questions, and this is all real people. Basically, the girls were underage. I think a couple of them. So this is another comment. This is why I buy physical whenever possible, and often. If I own a game digitally and the physical version releases later on, I'll pick that up to actually own the game. Digital ownership is a scam, and subscription gaming is even worse. So whenever I hear people say, hey, this is a scam, or this is illegal, it's not, because anytime that you make a purchase, you're agreeing to the license agreement that specifically states that if for whatever reason licensing is ended, or they're like we're seeing now with Discovery and PlayStation, if that all of a sudden ends, you lose access to it. It is in the writing. It is in the contract that you agree to. Alright, so this is here's another one. What I don't understand is if a game is fully purchased and not just attached to a service, staying active, PlayStation Plus, extra monthly free game. If a game is fully purchased, why does it need to phone home? Essentially because it has to make sure at all times that it is that you do have a license to view the content. But that goes for anything. Like if you sit there and you have PlayStation Plus, like this person did bring up, then you basically have the games only as long as you have the PlayStation Plus membership. And then once your membership is no longer active, you lose all access to those games. So the next comment is, this feels like a Sony thing rather than with the digital content in its whole thing. Last I checked, I can still access everything I've ever purchased on other platforms. The only thing that happens when a license expires is that they just prevent anyone else from buying new licenses. So if Sony's contracts don't include that when other platforms do, that's a huge detriment to their digital ecosystem. And from when I was looking at the contract, the agreement that you agree to when you purchase content, it does in fact state that if the license is no longer valid, that you will lose access to that content. So I don't know about other services. I mean, I feel like this is something that's just across the board. I feel like if all of a sudden a game and maybe a developer or publisher don't reach an agreement with Steam, essentially those games are no longer going to work if Steam doesn't have them in the Steam store anymore. But I would have to dig further into that. From what I found, though, every other service that I'm aware of makes you sign this agreement, and if the license expires or ends, you lose access to the content. So this is, this is just somebody who maybe hasn't read the agreement, but there is no lawsuit to be had. Because essentially, what you are agreeing to is a rental of the license. You don't own the license. You don't own the actual product. So this isn't like, hey, if I purchase a movie on PlayStation, it's the same as me purchasing a Blu-ray at Best Buy. Which actually, Best Buy is no longer going to offer Blu-rays and DVDs in 2024. So physical media is going away. I mean, it has for some time, but it's more so now than ever, because at this point, I don't know really any stores or many stores that are going to be offering physical media in 2024 or even going forward, because it's just too much. Like, the manufacturing costs for these companies to make Blu-rays and DVDs, they find it to be too expensive. Basically, Best Buy doesn't make too much. It doesn't really make any money on these movies, so they're just basically there to kind of keep the movies on the shelves, I guess. But yeah, there's just no benefit for these corporations or for these studios to essentially have physical media. So anytime that you purchase a movie or game on the PlayStation Store, just remember that you do not own this product. You are just renting it without a rental due date. It's essentially what it is. So it'd be like me going back in the day and renting a video game from Blockbuster, and that video game just doesn't have a return date. But the second that Blockbuster closes down, I lose access to that game. No, it doesn't kind of quite fit, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Are you fucking high?
So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk about this whole PlayStation Discovery situation, and we definitely want to hear from you about it. What do you think about it? And let us know in the comments down below. And does this worry you for a digital-only future, knowing that maybe you didn't know that you're not actually purchasing the content that you think you're purchasing? Let us know, and also down below, and you'll find the description where me and my brother Rocky's all their socials are located. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications so you'll miss on content like this from us in the future. Yeah, this definitely sucks. I definitely hate a digital-only world, but I don't know what we can do. But we'll see you all in the next gaming session.
I spaced out of my head to the depths of the universe. It's a spell or a chance just to open up a newer curse. If I swim too far, then my head goes under. If we take it as it is, then there ain't no wonder. It's hard to imagine that just one little